Yo, 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 yo. Yo. Yo, yo, yo. And we back. And we back. Yes, sir. Okay. What's the word, everybody? I hope everybody's great. So everybody was coming back. This is part 2 of something we was doing a little earlier. See what's popping in. Twitch, what up? How we feeling? I'm trying to get my shit together. I don't understand why shit's dropping like this. All right. I guess we are back, everybody. Yeah, I guess we are back. All right. That was a little strange. All right. Fuck it. But welcome back to the stream, everybody. This is your boy Nobu Akira. Here live in full effect. Live in the flesh. Yeah, I just feel like a lot of this shit is dope. So yeah, we about to get back into it. I just want to say what's up to everybody. Twitch, what's up with y'all? YouTube, what's up with y'all? All right, let's get to it. Let me double check. So before we get into anything, let's actually get into some shit I forgot to get into earlier. Let's do this. All right, now let's get into some new shit that dropped as far as like card reveals and shit. We have a promo smoker, purple, 5 cost, 6k attack, navy, 1k counter, on play. If your leader has the navy type, trash 1 card from your hand and add up to 1 rested Don from your Don deck. Then look at the top 5 cards. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 navy type card and add it to your hand, and place the rest at the bottom of your deck. It's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. We got the Aldar Emu showing everybody. And for us, as far as the treasure rare for OP16, we get a red Vista. I believe it's the OP16 one. And the French get this Kobe. which looks fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, looks raw. So let's get into that. So look, so pretty much we went over everything I wanted to go over. So let's switch gears. Let's do some things. So now to be honest, we really got to get ready for OP16 and its new meta. So let's do my favorite part and let's build some decks and shit like that. Let's kind of update it, build some shit. So boom. So let's watch this video by Kai. If you don't know him, he's a pretty good YouTuber in the community. Gives a lot of information. Dope. Yeah. So let's watch a video from him. Hold on. Let's cut that down. Okay. All right. And hold on. Yeah. I can't even see him. Duh. There we go. All right. You guys don't know, this is Kai. Like I said, he's a pretty good YouTuber, really dope, all that good jazz. So let's watch the video. We're about to, like we said, we got to update our shit for, OP16. So, and this video is, he's kind of giving information and insight on deck building, which is dope. So, it's a 33-minute video. Let's see how it goes. If it's pretty long and I feel it dragging, I'll just speed it up. But hey, we'll see.
With global simultaneous release right around the corner, it's more important now than ever to understand exactly how you're building your deck instead of just simply copying the deck lists online. If you're copying deck lists online, you're always going to be one step behind, as people have already refined past the point that they've posted online. Therefore, in this video, let's talk about the fundamentals of deck building, the method that I use to create my initial lists, and ways to refine it so that you can be the one ahead of the meta. Though I may make some dated references to old cards in this video, I hope that this is going to be a relevant video throughout the lifespan of this card game, so if you're interested in this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to be teaching you how I refine my deck list down to the last ratio of each card. With that being said, let's talk about one of the topics that I find most interesting in the One Piece card game: deck building. There really is no template for deck building. You can't just apply one ratio of cards to another deck, because each deck fundamentally will play completely differently thanks to the leader effect, and it's one of the great things about the One Piece card game. Even if you're playing the same color or color combination, you play the game and build your deck extremely differently based on the cards that you have access to or the strengths that your leader effect beholds. It's for this reason that honestly the best way to refine your deck list is to simply test it. However, building a deck from scratch and trying to refine it through testing alone is extremely difficult and daunting, as there's so many cards to test. You may find yourself, when you're trying to build a deck on your own, that you have 80 or sometimes even 90 cards within your deck that you need to somehow try to cut 30 cards from to make it 50. And a lot of this honestly comes from people not really understanding why certain cards are within a deck or why certain cards aren't within a deck. So distilling deck building down to its very core, I think that there are three main categories of cards. There's the core, your proactive game plan that you're trying to play towards, your 2000 counters or other counter in general, and also tech cards. Building your deck off of these three fundamental prospects will help you refine your baseline deck that you can therefore then refine and iterate on top of. Winning in a card game is kind of like climbing a mountain. You're trying to reach the peak, you're trying to push your own advantage and show that something that you thought maybe before was impossible is in fact possible.
I like this video.
While the opposition, the forces against you, the elements, gravity, your opponent's starting hand, are all there to try and hinder you. However, to climb a mountain, you have to actively take the steps yourself. By simply existing, you're never going to find yourself at the top of a mountain, and therefore in the One Piece card game, and honestly any TCG for that matter, it's most important to understand your proactive play and your win condition, because surviving forever is never going to actually end up winning you the game. It's your proactive actions that need to make the difference, and so therefore, in order to win a game, you need to first figure out how you're going to win that game and play towards that. Let's first talk about making your core game plan. Now, your win condition is going to change from game to game and matchup to matchup. You won't always be able to win in the exact same way every single game, otherwise the game would become really boring really quickly. But what you can think about when building your deck initially is think about what a winning board state would look like. You don't necessarily need to think about how you're going to win the game, how you're going to close out the game, because there's a lot of external factors. But you can think, if I can manage to get my board to a certain state, then that should usually translate into a win. In terms of playing, focus on getting to this board state rather than trying to get to that win, because a lot of times the setup is more important than the follow-up. But so if you have played this game quite a bit, think about your favorite deck and imagine what the perfect board state would look like in the end game. You likely thought about a board lined up with several of your strongest characters, because generally most of the time a lot of decks just try to play the same character over and over again because that is going to be their anchor. Now a lot of people call these key cards or boss cards. I call them anchors, which is a dodgeball term in Japan for some reason, but essentially...
Oh. Hit me with the ad.
As a tech founder, you start scrappy. You have to.
Anchors are the core piece that holds your deck in place and you build outwards from. You don't necessarily need extra chains on your anchor, a little bit of extra supplementary cards that you think are good because they're just generically good cards. You only want the links that connect the anchor to your ship. And so therefore, when you're deck building, you don't actually want to put in all of the good cards initially. You want to focus on this one card, this one anchor. Now, yes, you can have multiple anchors in your deck, lots of different top end for different options, but especially when you're starting out in the game, choosing one card to play around and therefore one game plan is not only going to make your deck building easier, but also playing the game easier as you have one game plan to focus towards and refine. Still, this anchor card can be the largest character in your deck, whether it's the 10-cost Nyuge in Red Blue Ace or the 10-cost 5 Elder Stars in Ima, but they can also be somewhat smaller characters as well if you're playing a mid-range or aggressive deck. Rayleigh has the 4-cost Luffy, which plays out another character, which is extremely powerful and important for that deck specifically, but it comes out on the second turn when you're going second. A deck like Green-Purple Luffy has the 5-cost Sanjin Pudding, which is going to be the key piece, the anchor to your deck, because if you can manage to get this card rolling, then you're going to be able to push that into a winning board state and therefore end up winning the game. The core of any deck is going to distill down to a few distinctly powerful cards and exactly how you can pull out the strength to its fullest potential. Whether it's going to be increasing the consistency, increasing the amount of good cards in the early game so that you can curve into that powerful card. There's going to be a lot of offensive and defensive tools that can help supplement your game plan, but the most important thing in my opinion is to start with a single card or two and build your deck outwards from that concept. How do you make this specific concept, this specific game plan, the strongest that it can possibly be? Focusing on your game plan is fundamentally a little bit abstract. What does that even mean? What sort of cards fall into the criteria of playing towards your game plan and not playing towards your game plan? The answer that I'm going to give to this isn't going to necessarily be the full answer because this topic is so complex and nuanced that you can't really cover every basis. However, the way that I like to think about this is that every deck fundamentally is leaning more towards aggression or control. On one side of the spectrum, you have things like Red Yellow Bella Betty, a turbo aggressive deck that burns through their hand just as quickly as they burn through the opponent's life. On the other hand, you have things like Blue Black Rebecca, which does the exact opposite, choking the opponent out of their resources and winning through their own. Your deck is likely going to fall somewhere on this spectrum, and once you understand if your deck leans more towards aggression or more towards control, then you can start to look at the cards that exist within that same spectrum. On one side, you have things like the 3-cost Red Zoro. This is a pure aggression tool from OP01 that has been a staple in a lot of red aggro decks since the dawn of time. On the other side, you have things like Kingdom Come, an essentially purely defensive tool that's only used to mitigate the opponent's aggression rather than actually build up their own, and you have some things in the middle, like Mamaragan, that have a little bit of both built into them. If you know where on the spectrum your deck lies, you can find cards within that same sort of range and build your deck around this concept of being aggressive. Though things like 9-cost Mom might be good in Red Purple Luffy, they aren't necessarily going to be focusing on your game plan, so it would be something more specifically as a tech card for certain matchups if you were to include a certain card like that. As a basis, you want to figure out what's going to benefit you the most, and for a deck like Red Purple Luffy, who's a lot more aggressive and has ramp tools built into his deck, that means lots of high power, high cost aggression. And then with your deck and anchor card chosen, you can start to look within this category of how do you supplement that power? How do you get to that 9-zone turn as quickly as possible? How do you consistently pull that card that you need? And perhaps possibly and most importantly, what are you going to do before and after you play this certain card? Now, this isn't to say that you should always be playing on curve and you should think about your curve while you're deck building. In fact, I actually implore you to not think about your curve. The nice thing about the One Piece card game is that the dong system means that you don't need to play perfectly on curve to make sure that you stay within the game and not fall behind. Purely focus on the card that you want to build your deck around, whether it's like the 8-cost Kid and putting in lots of blockers into your deck, or the 9-cost Sanji, putting in targets and ramp for your blue-purple Luffy deck. And later on, when you're in the refining stage, we'll figure out if you need certain cards on curve. In this stage, just focus on what's going to make your game plan as strong as possible. And at this point, you're probably not going to have 70 cards in your deck. You're probably only going to have like 20 to maybe 30 cards within your deck. And that's where you can start to build out more interesting tech cards for the specific meta that you're trying to play into. There's lots of nuance to cards within the One Piece card game. Even on this spectrum, you don't necessarily want all of your cards to be focused on this aggressive or defensive categories, but you can use a certain balance of them to both embolden your game plan while also mitigating your weaknesses. Some traits that can define control cards are things like the blocker trait, counter events, card draw effects, or removal effects, and cards that you may find in more aggressive decks would be things like the rush keyword, but also, weirdly, card draw effects and some removal effects. We'll touch upon this a little bit later. Still though, essentially in deck building, you don't want to put in every single good card that you can find within the card list and end up with 70 or 80 cards in your deck list. You want to focus on your core game plan and build outward from that card. By understanding how you want to win the game, you can start to realize certain cards that don't actually play into that thematic. You don't need every single trigger card in Hancock or Moria. You don't need to max out your copies of the 8-cost dragon in your red aggro deck. And of course, if you're playing green, you don't need every single good 5-drop that that color has, because that alone is probably going to make your deck 50 cards. So really the core of the, well, core section is that you should focus on a single card or two and build your deck outwards from there. This can help you understand your deck more fundamentally because you know what cards are going to supplement what part of your game plan. I understand that especially if you don't know all of the cards within the card game, you don't really know what you don't know, and so therefore looking through the entire card list of thousands of cards is going to be really daunting. Nice thing though is that Bandai does generally try to keep all of the packages within the same thematic, so Blackbeard pirates are going to stay with the Blackbeard leaders for the most part. The Straw Hat cards are for the most part good in the Straw Hat decks, so if you want to find certain cards within a deck and you don't know what cards exist, what you can instead do is go to the official deck builder, choose your leader, and then look for cards with the same type. If it's a Straw Hat leader, look for the Straw Hat cards. If it's a Blackbeard pirate leader, then look for the Blackbeard cards. And in this way, you're distilling the thousands of cards that exist within every single color that's been printed over the course of 3 years down to maybe at most 100, 150, depending on the more popular traits that you can choose your cards from. Now, this is going to end up excluding a lot of interesting tech cards, but we're going to get to that stage after. Right now, you just want to create your core around your game plan, and generally for the most part, these are going to stay within the type of your leader. The exception to these, of course, are going to be good stuff decks like Blue, Yellow, Nami that have just generically good leader effects that can play kind of any card. In these cases, you probably should look at a template for what people have built first and start to iterate upon that, but this is a pretty good rule of thumb when you're starting for deck building. The most important part is over. You've made your proactive game plan, and now it's important to become the mountain yourself. Make sure that the opponent doesn't win on their own terms and make it difficult for the opponent to actually play out their own game plan. So let's talk about counter. Now, counter, for those who don't know, on the left side of your character cards may have a number that says counter plus 1000 or plus 2000, and if there isn't anything there, that card just doesn't have counter. Having counter on a card is really important because it innately gives you a defensive way to use the card. Even if you can't play the card down onto the board, you can always use it as defensive fuel to prevent the opponent's attacks from going through to your characters or your leader. Having too many counterless cards within your deck is going to be a problem because you're going to find yourself losing with several cards within your hand. Losing with a ton of cards within your hand is frustrating, but it's also potentially a sign that there's something wrong with your deck building. This being said, there is no good formula to explain how many counterless cards you should have within your deck because, again, this is going to be based on your leader as well as the way that it interacts with cards within your hand and the matchups that you fight against. And it's for this reason that you could see decks with anywhere from 8 to upwards of 24 counterless cards within your deck, and sometimes they work perfectly fine. A deck like Green Mihawk doesn't want to have too many counterless cards within his hand, but a deck like Red Blue Ace doesn't really have issue with having too many counterless cards because he has the ability to turn them into 2000 counters with his leader effect. Therefore, the best way to know if you have too many counterless cards is to just play games and see if these scenarios end up arising. You generally want to have as few counterless cards as possible within your deck, but because the strongest cards within your deck are likely going to be the ones that don't have counter, you probably are going to inevitably have too many counterless cards at some point that you need to figure out what's actually going to be the most important to your deck list. This all being said though, 2000 counters do have a little bit of a formula. 12 2000 counters is going to be the default. Basically, every single deck at the start is going to have 12 2000 counters, and you can figure out from there if you need to increase that number so that you have more defensive tools out of hand, or decrease that number because you have defensive tools elsewhere. There generally aren't going to be decks that just don't need that many 2000 counters because society, but it's going to be because they have different ways of finding that defense. Decks like Red Green Luffy has the ability to turn his active Dong on the opponent's turn into 2000 counters. Black Teach has the ability to negate the opponent's on play effects, as well as having removal and 10 cost Teach to just slow down the opponent as much as possible, meaning that he doesn't need to have as many 2000 counters because there aren't as many threats that you have to deal with as Teach. And a deck like Yellow NL has infinite healing potential, so therefore instead of absorbing the attacks with your hand, you can absorb the attacks with your life. All three of these decks have a different way of controlling the game and maintaining their resources, and therefore do not need to run the default of 12 2000 counters, and can cut them down to, I've even seen as low as 4 2000 counters or 3 2000 counters within Black Teach, for example. It's very hard to notice if you have too many 2000 counters, but it's very easy to notice if you don't have enough. So therefore, I think that the best way to tune this number is to start with a number that's a little bit too low. Generally, I try to start with 8 2000 counters and figure out as I play if I feel like I'm a lot of the time finding myself in situations where I'm getting hit with a 6000 power attack and I need to take my life because I don't want to counter out of hand, or I'm countering with 2 1k counters. If you find yourself in the situation too often, although sometimes it's inevitable, you should potentially increase the number of 2000 counters within your deck. Still, this is going to come down to testing, so make sure to test your deck thoroughly. Rounding out your deck, you're generally going to want to put in some generically powerful cards and tech cards, so let's next talk about those cards. Now, wrapping back to an earlier section, we talked about how you can either embolden your strengths or mitigate your weaknesses, and this is why some aggro decks in the past have run removal spells. Gum Gum Mole Pistol in Rayleigh, Red Rock in Blue Doflamingo or Blue Jinbei, all of these cards feel like they should be control events, but they're used in aggressive decks. And the reason for this is because by playing these sort of off-theme cards, you can not only fill out your late game curve a little bit better because you're only running these early game smaller units, but you're also again playing into that aspect of creating a mountain for the opponent. Purely being aggressive isn't going to be able to win you a game. You have to make sure that you can win just slightly before the opponent, and that may mean pushing harder for lethal in the case of a control deck, or it can mean playing a little bit more slowly in the case of an aggressive deck. The perfect current example of this dichotomy is the 5-cost Nami and the 5-cost Borsalino. Some defensive yellow decks will run the 5-cost Nami because it's a good way of establishing board presence early on. This gives you a different way, an extra attack, to be able to take back the opponent's board and to therefore control the board that way instead of just purely cards that are played out of hand. 5-cost Borsalino, on the other hand, is played in more aggressive yellow decks like Karagara or Blue-Yellow Hancock because it has the ability to play slow and to give you one extra turn to push through. Now, generally when you're playing an aggressive deck, you can't just push through at your own accord and the opponent is going to try to stop you. So if you can stall for one turn and make sure that the opponent can't kill you, then you have that one extra turn to be able to kill the opponent. And in this way, you can find both aggressive tools and defensive tools within a deck list, despite the deck leaning towards one certain way or the other. Now, this is all confusing, and I kind of just broke my entire thing where I said, don't put in generically powerful cards, but also put in generically powerful cards. But essentially what I mean is that you should do this in the correct order. It's the same thing with trying to fill up a bowl of apples with water or filling up a bowl of water with apples. Distill your deck down to the core game plan of what you want to do and fill out the staples later on. Once you have a generically powerful deck, then you can start to think about tech cards. Tech cards are simultaneously the easiest to explain and also the hardest to fully master. There's going to be a lot of factors that come into, first of all, if your card is actually a tech card, and 2, if it's actually good. But still, the premise of finding a tech card is finding a weakness in the opponent. A chink in their armor, if you will. If you notice that their characters are weak to stun effect, then you can tech in cards like Electrical Luna to stun all of their characters. If they have lots of lower to the ground units, then something like the 4-cost Lucci could be very good depending on your deck. There are so many cards in the game, but the premise is finding what the opponent is going to be weak to and finding a card that can potentially exploit that weakness. Now, this won't always be able to work because if your card is going to exploit their weakness but it comes out 2 turns after the opponent's able to play that card, then sometimes it's just inevitably a little bit too late to actually get the effect off on this card. So once again, it just comes down to testing and feeling out how the card actually feels in practice. This same mantra of testing extends to cards that play on curve as well. Though I mentioned before, you don't necessarily need to play on curve. Sometimes you really feel like you need a 4 or 5 drop to not fall too far behind, especially if you're playing a control deck. In these cases, once again, I implore you to use the official Bandai deck builder and sort specifically by 4 and 5 costs to look at what cards may potentially be at your disposal to help round out some earlier turns that you felt a little bit weaker. Now, all of this comes down to practice, and so therefore, instead of buying your cards early on, I highly implore you to start your deck building and practice on the OPTCG sim. But then after you finish testing on the sim, it's finally time to buy those cards, put the deck together, and bring it to a locals or regionals because you've finally climbed that mountain. You're at the top and you now know what you should be doing when it comes to deck building. But this isn't all, because obviously there's still refinement. So let's talk a little bit about that. And once you've fully built your deck, you obviously need some place to store it. So that's where I want to introduce you to my sponsor of this video, Sleeve Chief, for all of the best TCG supplies. Sometimes I take a card game a little bit too seriously. I think that these deck boxes are some of Sleeve Chief's best ones yet. The quality is of course as high as ever, but especially the 20 Chicken Nuggets share box has a ton of space they have. One method or framework that you can kind of use as a guideline but won't really apply to every single deck is this. If you want to see a card as many times as possible, you won't feel unhappy seeing it multiple times, put it in as a 4 of. If you want to see it at least once within the game, put it in as a 3 of. If you don't necessarily need the card, but if you do see it, it could become a supplementary advantage, but you don't want to draw more than one, then I would put it at a 2 of. And finally, 1 ofs I generally don't do unless I'm playing a more toolboxy deck, which means just being able to pull cards out of your trash, therefore having a second hand to pull from. But this is, of course, my own thoughts, because the 2-time Worlds representative, Clyde TCG, loves 1 ofs. He basically treats these cards as random ways to spike your win rate upwards without actually having too much deck building cost, because you'll need to run 1 of them. I generally think that if you're a beginner at the game, you probably shouldn't put in too many 1 ofs into your deck, because it'll start to blur your game plan and make things a little bit more complicated when you do or you don't draw these cards. So generally, I would prefer to make these cards a 0 and increase the ratios of something else up to 4 to increase the consistency. Still, these are some of my thoughts on these cards, but let me teach you how I personally refine the ratios in my deck more than just thinking about it numerically like this, because obviously this framework can't work for every single deck. Now, my method is very simple, and I've been doing this since OP01, and that is the card that you're not sure about, the 4th card that you're not really sure if it should be a 3 or a 4, or a card that you don't know if it should be a 1 or a 2 or in the deck at all. Flip it upside down. Inside the sleeve, obviously not in tournaments, in your testing, physically flip the card over in your sleeve so that when you draw that card, you know, oh, that was my 3rd Gamma Knife, that was my 2nd 6-cost SR/NL. And now you can think, when you draw that card, would you rather have had that card be NL? Would you rather have had that card be Gamma Knife? Or would you rather have had that card be one of your other tech cards? By flipping over one of the cards in your deck and identifying ahead of time what you want that card to potentially be, you can very easily, in the moment, decide which one ended up being better. Over the course of multiple games of testing, you can start to realize more often than not you're wanting a certain card, and therefore you can make that switch. And welcome back to my home. Now let's put all these steps together into just a hypothetical scenario where you're trying to build a deck for the first time, and how that may look like with all of the steps that we talked about in this video. Although I've mentioned the official deck builder time and time again, I do think there's a really good online browser tool, which is Cardi Kaizoku's deck builder, so I'll also link that in the description as well. And through this, I'm going to try making Yellow Luffy, because it's a pretty powerful deck right now, all things considered, in this OP15 meta, while also being very beginner friendly. Honestly, the only thing that's bad about this deck is the cost of it. Now, first and foremost, this leader has the Straw Hat type as well as the Sky Island type, so cards that are going to preferably be Sky Island due to your leader effect are going to be really great for this deck. So instead of looking for the Straw Hat crew type, because of my leader effect, I'm going to be looking for Sky Island cards to decide what I want to be my anchor. Now, there's going to be lots of high-end cards, like the 10-cost NL. I've seen some people running things like the 10-cost Luffy from EB04 as well, and this is why I call them anchors and not boss cards, because boss cards kind of implies that it's going to be your largest character, but NL is not necessarily going to be your anchor, because it's not necessarily the card that you really want to play around. So although this is going to be the biggest card within the deck, it's not what I'm going to play around, so at least for now, I'm not going to put that into my deck. I'm looking for a card that I can play around, probably going to be the strongest card within my deck, and something that's going to help push my game plan, which is just to expand my board, have lots of good Skyland characters on the board, and to keep pressuring the opponent. Now, there's a lot of, I'm seeing things that are purple as well, so let's make sure that we're just looking at the yellow cards, things like the 4-cost Zoro and the 5-cost Luffy. And I think that this 5-cost Luffy, obviously it's a secret rare, but I do think that it is going to be the strongest card within this deck. So at the very least for now, I'm going to put this in as a 4 of, and I'm going to think about other cards that may be able to supplement this, or alternatively make different game plans to therefore have 2 anchors. Now, I already know the cards a little bit, so I am cheating a little bit, but this Luffy, of course, very strong, but it does...
All right, we pretty much, we get it. Shout out to my guy. All right. Yeah. Let's get to it. 'Cause I am ready, my friend. All right. All right, taking into account what he was talking about, let's do it like this. All right. Okay. So as a leader, what do we do? Activate main once per turn. If the only characters on your field are impaled down type characters, set up to 2 of your Don cards is active. Okay. So what's my board? What's my anchor? What's my core card? Like, what am I trying to do? My whole thing is I get to restand 2 of my Don cards. I see what he was talking about. Okay. All right. Let's do it then. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta hurry up. What is they on? Oh, okay, we there. All right, y'all. Yeah, we live. All right, cool. All right, shit. Let me show y'all then. Bam. Yep, we live. All right. So this is your boy. Standard regulation. There's Luffy. Build with this leader. All right. I say green and blue. Sneeze. All right. Okay. What would be the core anchor to this? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to have a big board of just control. So I'm trying to be like real control-y. Okay. We're like real control-y. So let's do like this then. But it has to be based on impale down. So let's do it like this then. All right. Let's do it like this. So blue. Okay. What would be my anchor? What would be my anchor? So would I be aggressive or would I be kind of control-y? It feels like I would be aggressive. This is interesting, y'all, because I'm not really. Usually, I'm not gonna lie, I just copy the decks and just build on that. But making it the first one is kind of crazy. Okay, all right. Okay, what do you do, Buggy? Oh wow. Okay. Ironically, I think Buggy would be my anchor because I'm just like about to flood the board and shit. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna start with 4 buggies. Um, Prisoner impaled down. I can spam them. So I'm gonna start with like 15 to be honest. Yeah, we'll start with 15. Okay, now how are we gonna help maintain this shit? Uh, hmm. How are we gonna help? Okay, how are we gonna help maintain this shit? Hmm. Hmm. What is this, Galdino? Activate main. You may trash this character. Draw 2 cards and add up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 9 unless can attack it. Okay, so he just freezes himself. But with that buggy, I can help spam. But that's not enough though. Like 4 of them buggies is not enough. One punch draw 1 card. When attacking this character's base power becomes same as your opponent's leader during his turn. Yep, downtime is 1, so we'll always be above it. Okay. Oh, he's a bricky though. I'm gonna draw 1 card with him now. If you have 5 or more cards in your hand, this character gains plus 8,000. One play, draw 1 card. Okay, so we all draw me cards. Okay. Let's add for you for the dash. And this Luffy was interesting. It kind of helps support. She'll be a light 2. Where we at? We got 29. Alright, we got some space. All right, we got 21 left cards left. Okay. She's a blocker. You may return 1 card. Yeah. All right. Yeah, not needed.
These are the faces men make before they shave their bodies with a face.
Oh. Got that buggy. Okay, Croc. You may return one of your characters plus 2 more to on his hand. Play up to one. It's alright. Let's look at the green versions. The shits. If your leader has input down, race up to one of your opponent's characters. Cost of 5 or less. I thought this was interesting. So let's do like 2 of him. This Luffy apparently, this character gains plus 1,000 for each of your characters. Alright, yeah, this shit was hard. On play, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal the one and put down at your hand. So he's a searcher. Gotta have a search. It's off top. Okay, yeah, she would be my boss monster, yeah. Or my anchor. Up to one of your losers cannot be resident to the end of your opponent's next phase, yeah. What is she? 7 cards? Yeah, that's pretty nice though. I can fuck with that. What's up with this buggy right here? Play up to 1 person. Okay, that's pretty cool. If I add 2, I gotta dim down the other one. What's this? Ivankov. 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1, add it to your hand, and place it the rest of the bottom of your deck, and then play up. Okay, so he helps play shit too. Okay. Alright, where we at? 49. Damn. Alright, we definitely gotta get rid of some shit. But this Luffy is a rusher too, so I definitely would have him in here. And this Ivankov is interesting. Yup, reveal up to 1 card from your deck. Yeah, this Ivankov is interesting too. He just helps play shit. I'm just doing 4 just to. Of course, I know it exceeds the limit. I know. All right, I feel like I got that. All right, now I'm gonna switch the type to events. Okay, main. Let's go to the Navy headquarters. Main, you may rest one of your down cards. If you have 5 impale down type characters with different names, sets your leader and all your characters is active. This is the shit they were talking about. Wow. I say it should be a 2 that'd be a hit. That'll help close the game out. What's this? Main, up to one of your Monkey D. Luffy cards against double attack during his turn. If your leader has an impale down type, rests up to 2 of your opponent's characters. Yeah, that's hard. Ooh. Let's say 4 of that. If you have Monkey D. Luffy and Mr. Gardino, up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 6 or less will not become. Okay, that's a little leader joint. Little 3K. I'll say 2. I feel like that's for Buggy. Prisoners, alright. If you have 10 down cards, I fit all of your prisoners on. Aha, that's hard. But it's only for Buggy though. Mate, you may rest 7 down cards. Look at top of cards in your deck. Play up to 2 impale down type cards. Type character cards with 6,000 power or less. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. I say this should be a 2. That's season 1. Let's rotate it out. If your leader has an impale down type, up to one of your leader characters 2,000 power. Yeah, this shit is hard. I need 4 of this for sure. This shit was hard. All right, we got 82 cards. We definitely got to trim this bitch down. Okay, so the core anchor. Okay, so my game plan is to actually just wipe shit out. Have a board full of raw niggas, wipe shit out. Boa Hancock. That's the anchor. So let's build around her. What's the quickest way I can help Boa come out and help dominate? It's helping summon niggas. So we got my searcher, which is just Luffy. And my 2 spawners would be people to help spawn the board. He would always be on my 3rd turn. What can I do to help summon? What can I do to help summon niggas on my 2nd turn? And be a Vankov. Woo! Okay, to be a Vankov. Now this prisoner of impale down. These niggas is mainly buggy cards, but for me, they're like hella 2Ks. So let's at least bump this down to 10. Let's bring this down to 10. And then we'll see from here. Okay. Nah, he'll help me draw a card, and he'll help me apply some pressure, and he's a 2 cost. So we can do at least, let's do 2 of them. And then let's do 2 of, help the Dad's Bones. All right, now there's Luffy. He is somebody who I can just keep giving people rested cards, and he's a 2 cost, so he's somebody I can always summon. So me personally, I'm gonna put 4 just to see where we are. 40 Ivankov. Okay. This Gardino. If your leader has an impale down type, rest up to one of your opponents, so he'll be like a rester guy for 2. So I gotta be mindful too not to have too many 2 costs. So my Van cost is helping me spawn my 2 costs. He's helping me search. Now, how can I spawn these 6 and belows though? They're both 1Ks. I think these should work in tandem with each other. Which one is a better effect? It still has me lost summon at 2. This one has me summon at 2. They both. This one searches though. Okay, so I would bring you down actually. How can I how can I play these 6s though? How can I play these 6s, like these 6s and belows? Give up to 2. He'll rest. None of these help summon a 6 or less though. This character gains. I say let's delete him. Honestly. Let's keep the Croc. Cause he'll stun. He stuns them. Inferior character with 6,000 base power will be removed from the field, and he's a blocker. Let's bring this Luffy down, actually. I'm gonna get rid of that buggy. I don't really need that buggy. At least I don't think I do. Those 2 buggies help summon the prisoner impale downs. All right. already got this bond clay. He draws me a card. So I don't. Do I need to rest somebody 4 or less? We'll see. Let me play some games. I think 4 of them Crocs is cool. It's too much of a liability. Not worth it. Yeah. Just rest people. Let me go back to the characters. Hold on. That's crazy. What are these guys do? Oh, these is like, these got super spawn. I gotta think about it. What do you do? Okay, he's a way better rester. Vankov is just a blocker. What do you do? Nah. Okay, it's the Hania bills. All right. I was thinking, I'm like, dude, it gotta be something that helps me summon some shit. You may trash 3 cards from your hand, though. Ugh, that's heavy. It's tough. All right, my leader. I get to set up 2 of my shits. If I only have impaled down characters on my field. Okay. Yeah, this is my spawner shit. And it's my counter, so I should definitely have 4 of this, because this helps spawns my 6,000s or less. Okay, so then let's just focus on which 6,000 or less am I gonna keep. He stuns, he rushes, impale downs. I could just have hella of them. Let's bump them down to 5. That's my searchers. Yo, these help me draw a card. This Luffy, though, he helps put it down on niggas. Yeah, he's a counter. He stops my 6Ks from being affected by shits. He rests to 5 or less. You help me cycle through the cards as well as draw and spawn my 2s. You help me search. Maybe if I go down to 2 with him, just see how it feels. Oh snap, I was at 50. Damn. Actually, shit. Yeah, let's move 1 down. Let's add. What do I wish I rather have? Let's add my tech cards, man. Let's add a tech card. Cause I feel like this is tight. I feel like this is cool. I want to add Zoro. To be honest with y'all. All right, let's make this. I feel comfortable with this. Okay, let's copy it. All right. So we got our Luffy. We got, hold on. Got our Luffy. We got, okay. Two the Avon cause. For the boas. There's like hella twos. Okay. Then let me do. Goddamn, we got that. Prisoner impaled down was 5. I didn't want Zoro. This is 3. This is 3. 2, 2. All right. Oh fuck. All right, let's try this. Higher version. I hate niggas. Let me see. It's crazy. All right, we gotta try to find a match. That's crazy. All right. Let's go first. Okay. What do I want? I want to mulligan this. Okay. All right. Here we go. I want my anchor and boom. Ugh, it's hard. Yo, kids the same. My bad. Just not seeing it. What's the word? But y'all see this shit though? This shit kind of crazy. Okay. Looking for it. La la. Okay, I can't really do much right now, so. Mm. Damn, my shit would have been perfect. All right. Ooh. got that one. Ugh. All right. Let's go back to the lab. Hold on. All right. Okay. A lot of this shit was useless. He was cool. I didn't see none of them. So I need Galdino for this shit to work. Well, no, which was the shit that helps it summon everybody? Is this shit? Okay, so I should definitely have one more of that. So that's for A done. And my leader gets 1,000, so let's get rid of them Luffy's. Let's do will change. Let's do one more prisoner. Impaled down. Let's do this. I picked this Ivankov. Get rid of that Zoro. Let's add. I really want the Zoro to work. Yeah, I'm gonna try to fit him in. All right. What is something? I ain't got nothing to summon in the first half. Hell no. Bam. Cool. It's better. Yep, so we spawn, Gadino. Ah, yes. Ooh, nice. Mm. This is gonna be interesting though. Oh, he might be able to do it. I know what I need. Gotta put him to his hand. Yes. 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 He fell for it. And then we go 2K out of this. It's the only thing he got over. I gotta take out the bond class. Damn, he's strong as hell. Yeah, I don't think I got it. I can try to kill them niggas, but yeah, I think it's GG's. Damn. Oh my goodness, yeah. All right, I gotta put these bitches in. Damn. Okay. I gotta put these in. Let's take the bond clays out, man. That's fact. Is that block one? Nope. Tightened up the Luffy. Okay. So take one of them out. I don't even need that shit. All right, let's get it. Kind of want to do better than that. All right, that's better. Gotta trash that bitch. Hmm. Uh. Play the next turn, but I really want to flood the board. Could play both of them actually. Yeah. Fuck. Picked a law. Yeah. Oh. Ah. Fuck. Of course. I would he not pick the porcelain to keep healing? Nice. He thirsty. He gonna get right to this nigga. He's thirsty. nice. Ugh. Sloofy is nice. That little event is crazy. That summoning event is insane. Nice. This nigga and his fucking defense. It's incredible, man. See, this was a good trigger too. This is whoever wins. This is where it becomes justice. This shit is crazy. I hope you don't fall for it. Don't attack. Nothing but fucking defense, bruh. This shit is so crazy. All right, watch this, y'all. Attack with him. Stun, watch, freeze him. I could just split this up then. That's crazy. Yeah, I could just split this up. 4, 4. Nah, let's see. 7. Yeah, I could just fuck him up. Yeah, it's over with. Nice. GG's. Nice. That was nice, y'all. Y'all seen that shit? That shit was hard. Gas. Fire. That shit was hard. I'm fucking with this blue green, man. Alright, let me try to see some more. How else can it be improved, everyone? This card was MVP. I'm not gonna lie. I guess I could put at least 2. She helps summon my prisoner of impaled downs. This is a clutch card because it helps pictures my bricks. This shit I don't need it. He was super duper clutch. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I see that shit. All right, yeah, we're good. See this Yamato. All right. We gonna mulligan that. Oh yeah. No, what the fuck is this teach? You think on top of your deck, add one from top of your life, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. Trigger. Damn. Yeah, I got too greedy. Mm. Yeah, it's over with. God damn, Kobe is just crazy. Yeah, that's about it. All right, I gotta play some more. Yeah, I think we gonna call it, y'all. Gonna call it a night. Yep. Appreciate everyone for coming through. It's Nobu Akira. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. Hella shit to come on. Hella shit coming soon. So yeah, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peep y'all later.